Hello and welcome to another League of Legends champion guide. It's been a while since our last one, but with the update coming to Nunu and Willump last week, I thought it would be a good time to spam this insanely fun champ and bring you a guide for how you too can maximize their spells and roll some huge snowballs, both literally and with some victories. The Nunu and Willump update brings a very fresh approach to what was a stale kit and really makes it something unique to the game. It gives you unparalleled objective control, heavy-handed ganks, tilt-worthy drifting plays, and a dominating teamfight capability from zoning to engaging to hard peeling. I really believe he is much stronger than his win rate would suggest at this time. Any players that have a great macro sense, they know how to path early game to maximize gank potential, counter jungling and so on, will definitely find success with this champion. As with other rank up guys, we'll be looking at everything including runes, ability breakdown, first clears, ganking patterns, item builds, objective control, and a little bit on teamfights. We will start off by talking about runes, and despite the Predator 1000 AP one-shot hype, it is not reliable nor the optimal playstyle for Nunu. It can be fun and certainly can win you some games with the cheese, but the best rune to go with his immense CC and gank potential is in fact Aftershock, and shows the most promise in the win rate department at the moment. We follow this with bone plating or font of life. I do prefer bone plating, conditioning for added resistances, and of course revitalize to make use of Nunu's heal on his consumability. For the secondary rune tree, you do have some options available to you, although I've liked Alacrity for that slight increase in clear speeds and fights, as well as Triumph for some much needed gold. I've also used a lot of Presence of Mind, so that's a good option too. You can also choose to go the Inspiration rune tree, taking Stopwatch for gargoyles and Cosmic Insight for increased CDR cap and more smite uptime. Let's now move on to a full ability breakdown where we will spend most of our time so we can properly understand Nunu's combos and gank potential, so I won't talk too much about his passive given that it is rather simple for once, but simply put, it works much like his old W used to in that it buffs an ally champion, giving them bonus attack speed and movement speed. This happens for 4 seconds, prioritizes the ally with the highest attack speed, and whenever you see this animation on Willump's basic attacks shown on screen now, you will also be dealing an additional 30% bonus 80 physical damage that splashes to nearby targets, similar to the way that Tiamat works. So keep an eye on this when clearing the jungle or in tight dueling situations, including one which we'll look at shortly, and we'll continue to talk about his passive in our next section, which is talking about Nunu's Q, also called Consume. Now this ability carries over from his old kit with the additional feature that Willump, the Yeti, now bites champions. Whether versus monsters or your friendly neighborhood Aurelia, you will deal damage and heal, with the primary difference being a larger, better scaling heal on monsters, and that of course you do true damage to them instead of the magic damage you do to champions. A fully maxed Q early game does significantly more damage than Smite and gives you ultimate control over neutral monsters, especially with your passive, and that's why we max this ability first. Finally, Lux's ult won't be able to steal the Baron from you. It's a boosted monkey's best solution. 2 smites. Just keep in mind that Q has a very brief cast time and isn't instantaneous like Smite, and so using Smite and then Q will give a slight window for a steal, much like my mistake in the Lux example. Ideally, you want to add the damage you can do to monsters with your Q along with the Smite, which means using Q followed by Smite to almost guarantee you will come out on top. The reason we max this ability is due to its heal and monster damage, giving you that much needed boost to Nunu's clear speed, as well as the unexpected dueling potential. Even if a gank goes wrong like it does in this situation, I'm able to stun the Rengar with my tiny snowball, Q him for a heal as well as damage, and finally use my passive, which has come up, to cleave him down to secure the kill. A horrible situation, but at least we got something out of it. Being the only ability with scaling CD other than Nunu's ultimate, coupled with heavy cooldown builds, you can easily solo dragons, heralds, and even barons from as early as level 4 and perhaps earlier. The Q coupled with your stacking attack speed boost to an ally means that early tower focus is huge, as that first tower gold can always be yours if you're using the right rotations or even breaking open a neutral game by baiting your vein to the baron just by starting it yourself, because honestly you don't need her, it just goes quicker when she's there. So Nunu and Willump's Q as well as the passive give the player a disgusting level of objective control that can make an arrogant Jax cry when you steal his herald. Finally, don't forget to use Consume in those long, drawn-out, in-and-out style team fights where you can continually heal yourself while dealing damage before turning it around with your next ability, the W, also known as the greatest snowball ever. This is the defining new ability of Nunu and Willump, and how could it not be? A giant snowball you can drift with. Top laners of Cyanolt, we have this. Being able to navigate the twists and turns of the map is absolutely vital to maximizing this ability. I don't just mean doing a U-turn and killing a Ziggs, I mean chasing down a Rengar in his own jungle at level 2 to make him regret touching your crab. That sounds funny. Throughout this video, you will see many examples of snowball mechanics, especially in the ganking section, so let's begin by just simplifying what this ability actually does, as it has quite a lot going on with it. Firstly, you can break free of slowing effects as well as be immune to them while rolling, and you can also roll a snowball for up to 10 seconds while increasing your movement speed as you go. The damage the enemy takes and how long they are stunned for is directly related to how long you've been rolling the snowball. You can also release it earlier than 10 seconds, or if it hits a large monster, terrain, or champion. And should you reach 10 seconds of push time, it will simply go on for another couple of seconds in a straight line. Now this amazing ganking and CC tool is not only good for that, you can use it with your home guard for the MS boost to get your blue quickly or get to the dragon fight faster. It's also fun and lets you practice your snowball mechanics. Using W in a straight line down the mid lane, it can also easily burn flashes from enemies as they'll be fearful of being caught in a max size snowball, as the risk of follow-up CC is just way too great. Learning how to control this ability to its fullest will define how good your Nunu becomes and how much of an impact you can have on the game. Just be careful of weird clipping that can occur on the map and interrupt you even if it seems like you might be safe. Also note that you can be CC'd and knocked up out of your snowball fun time, but it is definitely not something Yasuo can win wall. So then, I mentioned maxing Q, why do we max W second, or at least I do? Well, given its base damage scaling and lower AOP scaling than Nunu's E, it's definitely a better option for the full tank build, whereas the next ability, Snowball Barrage, is a viable second ability max for the AP item rush. And that's because it has better AP scaling. So, Nunu's E is where Nunu actually does something. As you probably noticed, Willump has been doing everything so far. He throws 3 snowballs quickly in a row, and I'll emphasize that you can do that 3 times within the span of the ability. A lot of people I'm seeing are just throwing 3 snowballs and sort of leaving it. Well, you can trigger that 2 more times. So if you hit 3 snowballs onto an enemy, they become slowed. And should they remain within the radius of your E, which shows up around you, after 3 seconds, they will be hard stunned and take damage. Nunu and Willump's E is a powerful early ganking tool and makes it the ultimate combo ability for the W as well as the R. Being able to hit those crucial snowballs on enemies and then using flash, your ultimate, to keep them within the radius will give you either a guaranteed flash or a kill. After hitting your first proc on an enemy, you can help keep them within your radius with a close range snowball knockup that will blunt any chance an enemy has of escaping should they not have a dash. Using W and then E gives you an alternating cooldown time and means you can knock up a non-dash or flash enemy such as this giant Krug, hard stun them with your E, and should they be able to escape in some capacity, you can chase them down again with your W and then your E again. You can also use E as a finisher or a chase down tool to secure vital kills for your team. The most important aspect of this ability though is how you use it with Nunu's R, Absolute Zero. Like Consume, this ability is carried over from the ult kit with its defining large radius, slow inducing area that grants you a shield, and after 3 seconds explodes with a slightly disturbing amount of damage. The channel can't survive through flash and other displacing CC abilities, or even Zonya's if you were trying that. The damage inflicted is directly related to the cast time, and so timing it well is imperative to its impact. You can use it as a finisher and a slow just to catch escaping enemies, or in conjunction with your E to 100% secure that the enemy will be locked in for the full duration of your ultimate. Hitting your E onto an enemy and channeling your R shortly afterwards will guarantee that they are hard stunned within your ultimate and force them to cry tears of ice. Its greatest power is in the fact that it's as wide as a lane and will force enemies to disperse in different directions even if you don't get off that full channel. You'll see in the combo section as well as the end section when we show clips of teamfighting how you can use it in different situations, but for now let's look at how we can use all of these abilities in fluid combos to gain advantages. In this first example, I used my W to get into a fight that started without me, and I need to rush there quickly to help my team. I managed to finish off the Jhin with a snowball and immediately turn to the hyperfed Jinx. I've hit my E proc on her, so I want to keep her within the radius and use my ultimate together to take her out of the fight. My E stuns her while I'm channeling my ultimate, perfectly executed, and this would basically guarantee her death as my E has rooted her right where I wanted. However, the Malphite ults over the wall to stop my channel, saving the Jinx and keeping her alive. At this point, I use my red smite to reduce her damage. I make sure to Q her for my heal, but mostly just to damage her. My passive triggers and comes up, and my Imparter auto attack finally takes her out. It's at this point I want nothing more to do with this fight, and I use my W to head back to the mountain slopes. Malphite casts a Q, but I cannot be slowed as I'm immune during my snowball channel, and I casually practice my drifting back to base. 2 kills, saved the fight, Jinx shutdown gold, the full power of Nunu. Well, in a bad situation. In this very basic early gank example, I use my W as a follow-up engage onto the enemy Gragas, proceed to slow him with my E until he's hard stunned, and use my Q to secure the kill. A simple 1-2-3, nice early game result, and this is what you're kind of looking for. However, in a more complicated scenario, look how the Vlad uses his pool to avoid my W knockup. Now I activate my E to follow him, and because I've managed to tag him, it forces him to flash out back under the safety of his tower, or so he thinks. Sadly for him, I also have my flash, and I immediately follow and begin channeling my ult. He gets rooted from my E within the ult radius, while my shield helps me tank the tower shots. I get maximum damage, Fiora follows me, and we secure a kill and another tower with my passive, helping my allies with their DPS. Okay, that's all the X's and O's of Nunu's abilities and how we can use them in fluid combos. So let's see how this affects our early clear as well as our ganking. On Nunu, I do like to start Talisman. I did go Machete for a long time, and usually I will start Red Buff depending on what side it's on, but if I am starting Red Buff, I like to go take the opposite side Scuttle, warding the enemy jungle if possible, taking my blue, Gromp, and then moving for level 3 gank. This is the most efficient use of time because as you arrive to the opposite side Scuttle, it will just have spawned and you don't lose any time walking around and wandering. You can of course also start on the blue side before taking Gromp, the same side Scuttle, Wolves, basically a whole bot side clear, and then moving to the top side of the map. A lot of standard routes are optional, just be mindful of invading because as Nunu you are a supreme counter jungler with that kit and you can easily 3-buff the enemy who decides to level 2 gank on the bot side or maybe do that full clear of their own, and you can also easily take raptors, at least a big raptor, with your consume. I don't like to fully clear my own raptors until I've attempted a gank or had some sort of presence, as 2 points in Q makes that a much more easy take. Additional routes are possible and I'll link a video I made about some strong ones that I do like to still use. Finally, I will say that a level 2 gank with Nunu is more than possible, usually of course better if you started with the red buff, and you can take the Scuttle if you like or even go directly to the lane and can always yield fantastic results. If you even manage to get a flash with your W, that means when you come back at level 3 with your E, you're pretty much guaranteed a kill. And always make sure you're flanking from behind with the W at level 2 because it will force him to flash out of it, and when you can come back with your E, it doesn't matter what angle you come back from because they won't be able to do anything about it. So as we've covered Nunu combos and introduced ganks a little bit, let's look more in depth at what we can do. So using a fully charged snowball from the side, paying attention to if the lane's pushing or not is basically your quintessential gank. Very simple, and it's the best approach as it will give you a longer CC time and damage burst with that snowball. Naturally, you do need to pay attention to vision and CC spells and such things, but of course with your increasing movement speed, you can really come in there quite hard if you've channeled at the right position. So ensure you are steering correctly, and even if you missed your W, it's an absolutely fantastic zoning tool and probably would have been used as such. Or at least you can write that in chat when things go wrong. So if that's the case, don't stop the gank there. You missed your W, that's fine. They might have used a flash or dash to get away from you. Now you can keep going with your E, get that high CC, use your Q, and hopefully your laner follows you for an easy kill. Junglers with 2 layers of CC and ganks can be absolutely oppressive, and as sweet and fun as Nunu and Willump look, you must camp. Burn spells, come back 2, 3, 4 times from all different angles. And on that note, the power of Nunu is also very strong in high-speed lane ganks on flashless or dashless enemies. Combining all of this with your ult only makes the situation more tilting for the enemy, and disgusting if you're rolling a slime ball from zombie Nunu, or if that is that mucus. Finally, don't forget to use bush ganks by being patient. With that CC, you have a powerful counter gank and you can help your team with intelligent bush entry. Don't forget to tower dive weak-minded opponents and crush your enemy souls, all with snow and fur. So with all this discussion about what we should do and how we should do it, what's the most optimal build path to utilize all these combos, abilities, and unique playstyles? Well, tank is the best. Tank suits his kit the best, tank controls the game better, and tank forces you to be a good jungler with good habits. That being said, I do enjoy playing a hybrid build for fun and would even recommend it for lower elos just so you have a bit more damage, but only if your Nunu mechanics are on point and you can position and time everything well enough to not be exploded yourself. Additionally, you will also see a more supportive build path shown as well, commonly used in Korea at the moment. Along with my own personal tankier choice, those are the 3 I can most recommend. Naturally, cooldown reduction and HP are huge on Nunu, but a lot of his build is situational as it is in most cases with tanks. The combination of Knight's Vow and Gargoyles gives you resistances and supportive HP along with cooldown, but I do prefer going a bit more straight tank with Spirit Visage for the increased heal on Q, Frozen Heart for the Jinxes and Yees of the world, while also providing much needed armor and cooldown. You can follow this with an adaptive choice. Mark is a great purchase against further magic damage teams. Randuin's Omen is great versus crit-based ADCs and Twitch, and of course Gargoyles and perhaps Warmugs for immense teamfight survivability. But I would honestly say that these items I've just mentioned are the core choices for this Nunu update, with the April hybrid build being a nice damage and semi-tank option if you want to add a bit more spice to your combos. The Sunfire is mostly to give you that balmy cinder, which is vital for faster clears, along with the fact that Runic Echo, Sunfire and Abyssal Mask are a strong combo and have nice looking icons. It's worth noting that if you do want to use Gargoyles though, an increasingly popular item on Nunu, you want to make sure that you activate it 1 second before you activate your ultimate. As you can see on your screen now, if you do not do this, your damage will be completely nullified by the Stoneplate active. But if you activate Stoneplate a bit sooner, layering your E and then activating your ultimate, you will get the resistance, size, and health benefits while getting full damage on your ultimate, as the Stoneplate would have run out by the time it finishes. And of course, you will also gain the HP benefit on your shield when the Stoneplate is active. Moving on, I won't talk too much about teamfighting as we have an upcoming video on teamfighting with tanks, but specifically to Nunu, ensure you are engaging intelligently with your W, zoning and CCing with your E, and paying very careful attention to your ultimate timing. You can flank from the side for increased presence and maximum ult effect, but you don't want to be caught sitting in front of a strong enemy CC team, getting off no damage and being burned down because you just sort of ran in there with no thought process. Make sure you use your tanky body to get between the enemy and your carries, and in some cases absolutely hard peel, and trust your team to do the DPS while you repeatedly CC the enemy and make their lives a living hell. But I hope you were able to learn some more in-depth aspects of playing Nunu and Willump and are able to be successful and have as much fun as I'm having with this champion update. If you enjoyed and learned something, please leave a like, comment below your favorite part, share this video and subscribe for more League of Legends videos coming soon. Thank you all so much for watching, consider joining on YouTube to support the channel further, and as always I will see you all in the next tutorial.